This week in Jamaica Now, a policeman is charged with murder in the death of Latoya Bulgin, the woman shot dead during a protest in Granville and whose body was tossed into a police van. An Integrity Commission report finds a dead man buying ammunition. The agency responsible for regulating guns says it cannot find the evidence of who ordered it. One of the world's largest warships docks in Kingston. A former CARICOM diplomat says Jamaica is now complicit in whatever the United States does to Cuba next. The government says nothing to worry about. And Jamaican author Diana McCaulay wins a prestigious British Literary Prize. I'm Jovan Johnson, and this is Jamaica Now. The arrival of United States warship Nimitz, one of the largest warships in the world, triggered speculation this week among Jamaicans over whether the country was being used as a base for the U.S. to attack Cuba. Those speculations were dismissed by Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith on Wednesday. She said it was a vessel of peace.
We are aware of public commentary around the visit, including questions about how the presence of a warship should be interpreted in the current regional environment. And I want to place on record and state once more that this is a scheduled port visit under an established program of maritime cooperation and goodwill. They have been at sea for about 2.5 months since they left port in the US, and I ask our public to think logically. The US has not been shy about demonstrating power and the possibility of force where they have wished to do. There would be no need to burden themselves with receptions and school paintings and community football and to use resources in this way in order to send a message of menace or threat. They have not been shy. We have had information as well about the trip. We know what the programs are. We have engaged as between our governments and as between our defense forces, unlike in any circumstance where they would be on their own national mission, which would be of any greater sensitivity. They would not need to stop in 10 countries to preface a visit in Jamaica if they wanted to send a message other than the message which we have received, which is that of goodwill and friendship.
Former CARICOM Assistant Secretary General Ambassador Byron Blake said the timing of the visit cannot be dismissed as coincidence. The U.S. warship comes amid escalating U.S. pressure on Havana and President Donald Trump's public declaration that Cuba is next. Ambassador Blake says the vessel's presence is less about goodwill and more about intimidating Cuba and a potential attack on Cuba by the United States. According to him, the Jamaican government and people are complicit in whatever happens next. Information Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon said the 5-day visit would include community initiatives, school beautification projects, and educational exchanges. On Thursday, the United States imposed sanctions on Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel and some affiliated people and entities. Mr. Diaz-Canel has served as president of the Spanish-speaking country since taking over from Raul Castro, the brother of Cuba's former leader Fidel Castro, in 2018. Thursday's action against the Cuban president is the latest by Washington to intensify pressure on the island's communist leaders. The sanctions were announced as President Trump told reporters that the U.S. wanted Cuba to be nicely run. The U.S. also charged Raul Castro with murder for his alleged involvement in a 1996 incident in which Cuban jets shot down planes operated by a group of Cuban exiles. And the Jamaican government says it has secured an increase in stipends for Jamaican scholarship students studying in Cuba and has arranged for the funds to be released early to ease hardship amid the current crisis on the island. Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith made the disclosure at Wednesday's post-cabinet briefing. She said the University of the West Indies and the Caribbean School of Medical Sciences have both indicated they have space available for students in specialized fields who wish to return to Jamaica. Mrs. Johnson-Smith said the government stands ready to assist with one-way airlifts from Cuba, but noted that to date, no student has formally requested departure assistance. The Firearm Licensing Authority FLA has signaled it will abandon its court challenge against an Integrity Commission report that found the agency's database was manipulated to record fake ammunition purchases, including one by a man who had been dead for 25 days. FLA Chairman, retired Supreme Court Judge Glenworth Brown, made the signal on nationwide radio on Wednesday. He said the tabling of the report marks the end of the matter and that the FLA should not waste judicial time. The 131-page Integrity Commission report was tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, ending a protracted legal and parliamentary standoff. The issue was brought to light in a Sunday Gleaner article on May 17, which revealed that the report had been sitting at Gordon House untabled since March 30. Integrity Commission's Director of Investigation, Kevon Stevenson, concluded that the FLA's license management system was allegedly manipulated to show 4 fake ammunition purchases from firearms dealer Kent Brown's business in July 2018. One of the purchases was attributed to a man who had died 25 days before the transaction was logged. A former FLA database administrator told investigators he made the entries on instructions from either the Chief Executive Officer of the FLA or the Director of Information Systems and Technology. However, the investigation revealed that the email trail that could have identified who gave the order was lost when the agency's server crashed with no backup. Mr. Stevenson concluded that the purchase entries constituted a breach of the cybercrimes law, but said no prosecution referral could be made given the evidentiary gap. The report also concluded that the firearm dealer was targeted by the FLA. He told investigators a senior FLA compliance officer demanded $2 million for his business to continue operating smoothly. He said he refused, and both his businesses subsequently closed after the FLA withheld his license certificates, despite approved renewal applications. He is now pursuing a case against the FLA in court. Meanwhile, the FLA has strongly rejected the report's findings. CEO Shane Dalling said that the agency learned of the allegations for the first time at a meeting with IC officials in March and argued that publication would cause irreparable reputational harm. Meanwhile, the opposition People's National Party is calling for the immediate resignation of FLA Chief Executive Officer Shane Dalling. Opposition spokesperson on Justice Zuleika Jess told Parliament on Wednesday that Mr. Dalling is no longer suitable to lead the gun regulator.
If we needed any further proof that the administration of firearms in this country is broken from the top down, we need look no further than the Integrity Commission's own Report 37 of 2026. That report tabled yesterday found that the Firearm Licensing Authority, under the watch of its Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Shane Dalling, presided over a vault where ammunition belonging to private citizens went missing, a computer system that was deliberately manipulated to destroy the livelihood of a licensed dealer using the identity of a man who was already dead. And a server whose catastrophic failure conveniently erased the very evidence that would have identified who gave the order. Madam Speaker, a man who runs an authority where the dead are used to falsify records, where vault doors cannot account for what is inside them, and where evidence disappears without consequence, has no business holding public office. The People's National Party therefore calls unequivocally and without reservation for Mr. Shane Dalling to resign immediately.
And opposition National Security spokesman Fitz Jackson said the IC report's findings amounted to more than administrative failures. He said the findings show what he calls a fundamental breakdown of law, order and public trust at the very agency responsible for regulating deadly weapons in Jamaica. But National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang has come to the defense of the FLA Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Chang says he's satisfied with Mr. Dalling's leadership. He also said the report did not find any firearms or ammunition missing from the FLA's armory.
We are satisfied that there is no, and well, the Integrity Commission said that, there is no firearm missing from the armory. Repeat it. There is nothing that could be used to prosecute. They have published allegations, and they investigated and found they found nothing to prosecute anyone for. Therefore, I have to repeat that. But in addition to that, we have had more than one occasion in recent times where the investigators from the police, supported by DPP and MOCA, have used the data from the FLA to anchor serious cases. and done so successfully, which means the process has been tested in our highest court, in the courts of our land, and done and has stood up to the test of all the legal parameters required to ensure we have a good system in place. We don't claim to be perfect, but we claim to be, we have made major advances to improve the management of the FLA.
The minister acknowledged that the FLA was not perfect, but maintained it had made major advances, including passing rigorous vetting by international partners to restore Jamaica's ability to import firearms. Former University Hospital of the West Indies Chief Executive Officer Kevin Allen has told the Parliament's Public Accounts Committee he could not have signed customs documents used to apply the hospital's tax-exempt status to benefit two private companies. He told lawmakers that this is because he had already left the institution when the documents were dated. Mr. Allen, who served as CEO from 2016 to 2022, was told his signature appeared on a C-84 customs form dated November 2023, more than a year after his departure.
Those forms, they are used for internal purposes. It's not a declaration. Yes, Chair, to facilitate emergency clearance. Some of those forms, about 4 or 5 at a time, would have been signed blanked. But let me haste to say to the committee that upon submitting my resignation, a second letter was drafted to management, informing management to remove my name from all accounts and other relevant documents that, that I would be required to sign in performing my duties. So it would have been unfortunate for someone to be using those a few documents after my departure.
Mr. Allen, it is, what is before us is more than just a form for internal purposes. This would be a form that would have authorized or certainly given customs the authority to act based on a signature, believing that this is the chief accountable officer of the university hospital. So it would be more than just the internal document that would go to the procurement department with your signature.
Chair, in that case, I don't know how my signature would reach on that document. I would not have signed such a document upon my departure. I don't know anything about that transaction whatsoever. So I am clueless where that is concerned, Chair.
The Auditor General said Mr. Allen appeared to have been in the dark regarding the matter. The hospital's board has called in the police fraud squad. The committee has been probing a series of breaches at the hospital following a report of the Auditor General. Meanwhile, lawmakers are questioning statements from the former hospital board chairman Wayne Chai Chung, who told the committee last month that he resigned in December 2023 after Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton intervened in the appointment of the hospital's CEO. Acting CEO Eric Hosin said board records do not reveal any information to support the claim that the minister interfered in the process.
Neither the minutes of the board meeting or minutes of the board of senior directors speak to a decision to overturn the appointment of a candidate who was selected for the post of CEO. So there are no records stating that in any of the minutes that we have recorded.
Well, Chair, this is more than concerning because, I mean, we would have heard on the last occasion what was said to the committee, and in no uncertain terms, a particular narrative was communicated to the committee, and to now hear from the UHWI, the minutes, to see that absolutely no such thing transpired. It is more than concerning to me. So it is for us now to make a particular interpretation as to, I don't know how we'd even interpret an omission, well, if that's what it is.
I mean, I don't want to draw a conclusion that it is the opposite. What I would say, there's a clear omission, must be, because a decision of that nature is consequential and substantial, and I would assume would be documented by a board at some point during the period. So I'm not going to say it is a total divergence, but I would say I would have expected to see more in either this minutes or subsequent minutes about this entire process.
Dr. Tufton had also rejected the assertion that he interfered. A policeman has been charged with murder in connection with the controversial shooting death of Latoya Buju Bulgin in Granville, St. James. The cop, Constable Andrew Wilson, was denied bail when he appeared in court on Thursday. Constable Wilson was arrested and charged on Wednesday following a ruling by the Director of Public Prosecutions. The ruling came after the Independent Commission of Investigations submitted a file supported by CCTV footage and mobile phone recordings. The judge remanded Mr. Wilson until June 16, citing the need to preserve public order in a community already shaken by 2 fatal shootings in as many weeks. The prosecution also raised concerns that the shooting was not self-defense and that Mr. Wilson could interfere with civilian witnesses. Constable Wilson's attorney, Michael Hemmings, accused the prosecution of being disingenuous, saying he had been told bail would not be opposed, only for the prosecution to change mid-application. The judge reminded him that the decision rested with the court alone. Mr. Hemmings said Mr. Wilson denies the allegations and will argue self-defense at the appropriate time. Ms. Bulgin was shot on May 17 during a community protest over the police killing of her 17-year-old cousin 1 week earlier. Her death and viral footage of her body being tossed into a police vehicle triggered national outrage. Jamaica's Independent Fiscal Commission, IFC, has raised concerns that more than $57 billion programmed for capital works projects across the central government and key public bodies went unspent in the last financial year. The oversight body said self-financing public entities accounted for $42.8 billion of the underspend, with the National Housing Trust, Housing Agency of Jamaica, Port Authority, National Water Commission and Urban Development Corporation among the top offenders. The Commission described the situation as reflecting a deep-rooted, slow pace in the implementation of capital projects. It stressed that underspending signals an implementation lag, not savings. The IFC noted that the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority is expected to speed up execution for selected projects, but warned that the inertia affecting regular public sector projects may persist. On a positive note, the Commission said Jamaica's macroeconomic pillars remained sound despite the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa. It pointed to inflation coming in at 4.3% at the end of March, well below post-hurricane projections of up to 10%, and the public debt to GDP ratio of 65.6%, also beating projections. Confusion and frustration erupted across Jamaica this week after the government implemented the first phase of a 16% fare increase for public passenger vehicles. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz announced the phased adjustment on Tuesday, with an initial 8% taking effect immediately and the remaining 8% scheduled for July. He explained the phased approach of the long-awaited increase is to help cushion the blow on passengers. But the absence of a published fare structure fueled immediate tension, with some operators in Spanish Town reporting that commuters who refused to pay the increase allegedly assaulted taxi drivers. Others said passengers were abandoning route taxis for cheaper Jamaica Urban Transit Company buses. Many operators dismissed the increase as wholly inadequate. One Kingston taxi operator told the Gleaner that the adjustment amounted to only $12 on $150 fare. He noted that gas prices have increased significantly and accused the government of playing politics. The Edgerton Newman-led Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services Association said its members accepted the cabinet decision with a somber tone. And the opposition transport spokesman Michael Phillips accused the government of resorting to what he calls gimmicks, describing the implementation as highly unusual and extremely disrespectful to commuters. He said the non-publication of the fare table with the announcement meant the government was effectively writing the script as it went along. The fare table has since been released. The family of late Jamaican hotelier Gordon Butch Stewart has announced a settlement of what they call differences that erupted following his death in 2021. The Jamaica Observer newspaper reported on Wednesday that in a joint statement issued through a Bahamian law firm, the family said they had resolved differences that arose following Butch's death. The statement said the family is looking forward to moving on with their lives and are excited by the continued development and success of the Sandals and Beaches group, which Butch founded. The Observer is part of Butch Stewart's estate. The statement did not specify how the matters were resolved. Several court disputes were taking place in Jamaican and Bahamian courts, which broadly pitted Stewart's United States family, led by his common-law widow Cheryl Hammersmith Stewart, against members of his Jamaican family, including his son and Sandals executive chairman Adam Stewart. There were competing claims over his final wishes and the ownership and governance of the business. Mr. Stewart, one of the Caribbean's most celebrated entrepreneurs, died on January 4, 2021 at the age of 79. Sandals is one of Jamaica's largest private employers and foreign exchange earners. Jamaican author Diana McCaulay has won the prestigious 2026 Royal Society of Literature on Hardship Prize for her novel A House for Miss Pauline, taking home £10,000, equivalent to approximately $2 million Jamaican dollars, at a ceremony in London on Monday. The prize, awarded annually since 2004, recognizes distinguished works of fiction, non-fiction or poetry that evoke the spirit of a place. Miss McCaulay, a multi-award-winning novelist, environmental activist and Gold Musgrave Medal laureate, was the only Caribbean writer among 6 shortlisted authors. One judge described the novel as an evocative and powerful novel of belonging, which complicates everything we assume about colonial history in all the right ways. Miss McCaulay told the Gleaner she was stunned by the win, having already picked another book as the likely winner. She also welcomed the recognition of Jamaican language in literature. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on your YouTube page, turn on your notifications, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson.